r/AskReddit. People who have the guts to ask their crush out. What happened afterwards? She thought I was joking. We're still friends, but it was pretty awkward. I told her I loved her on the first date. She said what I said it again in case she didn't bloody hear it the first time. Few years later we're still together. So far it's the best decision I've ever made. She said yes. Asked her out on a second date. Specifically said the word date this time. She said she didn't know we were going out on dates. Oh well. We went out on a date and I learned she was not the one for me after all. But it was a good lesson, and had I not asked her out I'd just agonized over what might have been. Ditto. Asked this guy out. He seemed sweet and smart and was cute. First time I ever asked someone out. He said yes. First date was picking up a video after he got off work and watching it at his place. Sounds good. He's really anal about the timing though, which is weird. Yet, he was on house arrest. Probation after being in the federal pen. Not a violent crime. Thank God. But taught me that it would be smart to get to know someone a tad better before agreeing to be alone with them in their home. Edit. To everyone assuming it was. It wasn't. It had to do with organized crime. Not a small lapse in judgment. And not for having a little weed on him or something. Also, my point was that I went someplace to be alone with someone who was a practical stranger. I realized that was not a particularly smart move in general. I didn't know this person before I put myself in a vulnerable situation, which is vulnerable whether or not the person has a criminal record. I did not decide not to date him solely because he was on house arrest or had a criminal record. Everyone makes mistakes, including myself. The bigger issue was that he didn't take responsibility for what he did. He made excuses, insisted he didn't really hurt anyone, and blamed other people for what happened. This is not a case of making a mistake, owning up to it, and moving on. Also, turned out he was incredibly racist, which is unrelated, but an issue for me. She's sitting next me in our apartment playing Minecraft. Never thought she'd actually be interested in me. I guess I was selling myself short. Do it OP. Could be the best thing you ever do. Well, we've had someone ghost me. A bunch of standard rejection. Me up terribly with one person in particular and never getting the chance again. And one person admit that they were interested in someone else. She said she wants to go out on a date. 1 led to 2, 3, etc. Sunday I'm gonna try and kiss her after our concert. Edit. She cancelled. She said yes and we went out to dinner and saw a movie together. Dropping her off, we kissed on her parents' front porch for what seemed like forever. Her dad thought so too because he started flicking the porch lights on and off. Good times. He was the head chef where I worked and I was new in town. We always sat in the same booth during our breaks and got to know each other over the course of a month and found out we had a lot in common. One night before I left I wrote my number down to give it to him and to ask him out. We asked each other, do you wanna hang out at the same time, and then blushed. Our first date was at a rooftop bar celebrating a coworker's birthday. He asked me if he could kiss me. That's when I knew he was the one. Now, years later, we have a beautiful baby boy that we love more than each other. He still has my phone number in his wallet. We met on Tinder and after about a month or so of seriously talking and hanging out we were laying in bed about to fall asleep and I asked him to be my boyfriend. The next morning we talked about it and he said he thought it was in a dream that I asked, but still stood by his answer 100%. That was 8 months ago and we are still happily dating. When I asked them out, they just looked at me and said these exact words. You know you're ugly and I'm pretty. Right, I gave up on love after that, but then one of my other crushes asked me out. 3rd grade. He showed everyone the gift I made him and everyone laughed at me for weeks. I thought it was a nice gift. Made it myself. Apparently not. I was an idiot and told him that I wanted to include him in my harem, and he got confused but then realized I just confessed my feelings for him. Cue the "oh, I liked you too, are so pretty" and me freaking out, because I didn't think I'd get this far. He then stopped me and said we weren't gonna date yet, BC he had issues he wanted to sort it 3 months later. A lot of romantic tension, and we began dating. Now, we're a month away from our first anniversary. I dated her for 8 years, then married her. 2 years strong marriage last week. If you ask your crush out, the worst that happens is you're embarrassed for a couple days. The reward, however, has the potential to be life-changing. Edit. Has been a lot of people coming here to contradict my statement with their own stories of mental health issues being exacerbated by a fear of, or severe reaction to, rejection. First, I'm sorry you've had to go through that, and I hope you are on your journey to overcome any individual hurdle you may have centered around rejection or relationships in general. If there's anything I can do to help ease your journey, or you are in need of a friendly voice and or compassionate listening, please feel absolutely encouraged to message me about anything you'd like to talk about. Now, I was speaking from the point of view of a mentally healthy and secure person who has a healthy relationship with failure and rejection. My wife wasn't the first person I asked out in my life, and I've definitely faced my share of rejection. Hell, even my wife rejected me when I first asked her out. The important phrase that I left out because I thought it was implied is this: if you are mentally and emotionally secure, and so are prepared for the possibility of rejection, then the worst that happens when you are turned down by a crush is a short period of embarrassment, and the possible benefits are worth that risk of rejection. Furthermore, if you are in that correct mental state, rejection can be good for you. Not exactly my story, as it is his, but when I was in high school I had this huge crush on this guy in my friend group. Gamers, nerds, outcasts, etc. Starting from the 9th grade. He was seriously the funniest person I had ever met, and he was so cool because of it. All my female friends would tell me to just ask him out, but I couldn't because I was so afraid he would say no and make fun of me for the rest of my high school experience. In my junior year he left to go to a different school, but we still kept in touch because his cousin, who also went to the school, became my best friend. To this day, she had managed to give me his number, and after mustering up the courage to text him, he was actually engaged in conversations with me, even though I was lanky and gross. Then the texting fell off and we grew distant in our senior year. One day my bestie had a family event at her house and my crush was there. We all had such a good time and I realized that my feelings, which had merely been in hibernation, were back and stronger than ever, but he was probably too cool to notice me. Later that day after I went home he messaged me, told me he really liked me, and wanted to date. We dated for almost a year before I had to leave for college and fuck up my life entirely. Moral of the story is ask them out, cause maybe they'll say yes. P.S. If you're put there D, I'm really sorry. I didn't actually ask him out, but at a party I let him know how I felt, and that I'd wanted to ask him out for a long time. We'd become good friends and I wasn't too worried. He was taken aback and delighted. "Oh my dude," he said, blushing. "I'm straight, but that almost makes me wish I wasn't." "Really? You think I'm that cute?" He gave me a hug and I felt his back muscles rippling through his t-shirt. "I'm totally using this as an excuse to feel your back muscles," I told him. He hugged me tighter. He's one of my closest bros, and one of the few people I can be utterly, grotesquely open with. 22 years later we live 1,500 miles apart, but we still text often. She just said yes. I thought you'd never ask, and then smiled and hugged me. We went to the movies. Edit. Holy crap guys, why did this get so many upvotes? Sorry, but this is the first time I've had this many upvotes on a comment. I confessed to my crush at a homecoming rally. He said I know. That was it. He recently came out and I'm happy for him. Got a first date that turned into almost 2 years worth of being emotionally dead inside. Pro tip: before you ask out your crush, really get to know them. Made the mistake of thinking I could help someone very troubled, and turns out 99.9% of the time they just drag you down to their level. Wish I had someone to give me advice back then. Sucks we have to learn these things on our own. He came out to me. I was very surprised, and he seemed very scared to tell anyone. I was the first person he had ever come out to, and he was terrified. I helped him through the process of eventually coming out to his extremely religious parents, who accepted it very well. He's now in an amazing relationship and one of my closest friends. Actually, I was a weird middle schooler, so what I was doing was trying to leave him a trail of hints to guess that I liked him. He guessed it was me before my climax because of the fact that I used cat stationery he'd seen me use before in a note for him. He gave me a birthday card telling me he'd guessed it was me, and admitting his own feelings for me. We've been dating for 2.5 years. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like and subscribe. Please check out more of our videos or our playlist. It is perfect for when you want background noise or to put on when you are falling asleep. Once again, thank you and have a great day.